Giannis Antetokounmpo maybe having some wandering eyes looking at New York. Plus, we've got Nikola Jovic extension revealing what that could mean for the Miami Heat. We've got preseason basketball to talk about. A lot of things for us to get into on today's show. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Front Office Show, joined by Keith Smith. Keith, how you doing, man? Preseason basketball off and running. I've been having fun watching these preseason games.
Yeah, I like the preseason because it's fun to see when you can kind of jump in and see new faces and new places. I especially enjoy watching the rookies in their first like NBA action against established NBA players, not necessarily just other young guys in summer league. So that was cool. Like Cooper Flag made his debut last night and looked pretty good. I thought he looked really solid. He's going to be really good defensively right away. It's just questions going to be, the shot. Is the shot going to hold up? How's the ball handling?
2 for 3 from deep last night.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he looked better as the game went along too. So, which is also good. I think it's funny. I've noticed multiple coaches are playing these games like with hockey subs, where it's like 5 guys in, 5 guys out. And that's how they're handling their subs in these early preseason games. But yeah, man, it's just good to have NBA basketball back. It makes me happy.
Absolutely. It's been nice having basketball back, and it's even going to ramp up more when we get to the regular season starting up in just a couple of weeks here. So an exciting time
weeks
of year
from today as we record this, which is bonkers, right? Two weeks from today.
Is it 2 weeks? Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
it is exactly 2 weeks from today. Yep. There we are, and the regular season will be here. God, I love it. So exciting.
So cool.
A lot of fun. Minor complaint, Keith.
Okay.
Giannis prefers going to the Knicks if he gets traded. No problem with the story itself. I get it. We'll talk about it. Don't drop this in the middle of the night, Shams. What is wrong with you?
It was not the middle of the night.
It was. It was. 4 a.m. Pacific time is the middle of the night, damn it. That was ridiculous.
I was like, no, it wasn't. I was like, I saw that like while I was doing school drop off.
It was something. It had to be. It was so
it was like
early.
7-something Eastern. You are right on that part of it.
But. Yeah, so it was 7-something. Then it's like 4 a.m. Pacific time. That's going. I'm like, I woke up and saw that and saw it had already been out for like 3 hours. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. This is absurd.
My
and
East
absolutely
Coast bias loved it.
Horrible. Absolutely horrible. And he's been doing this all summer. And I know it's not necessarily Shams. It's going to be his publishers and all this. They're probably trying to get stuff out before the morning shows for ESPN. This needs to stop. This needs to stop now.
They also might have had a story to compete with in the lunchtime hour today that turned into be the biggest non-story of the day.
Just being an ad.
Yeah.
I'm just being cranky because I am not a morning person at all. I am 100% the night owl. And so anything, Keith, even if something comes out first thing in the morning, people don't see the outtakes. If there's news first thing in the morning and I try to record, oh my God, double the amount of time of a normal video because I can't think. I can't put thoughts. It's too early in the morning. It's awful.
Well, when we wrap up here, pour yourself a Hennessy and sit back and relax.
That's what I'm going to have to do. Apparently. I don't know why I suddenly have the desire to do that. I don't know. It's like advertising has an effect or something.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people very mad. And I was like, I don't know, 75, 80% sure it was going to be some form of advertisement.
Right.
But I was like, maybe this is how it's going down. But I don't know. You couldn't have got Jim Gray to show back up. Like, what's he doing? You couldn't ask him to hang out for a couple minutes and do the thing. Like,
that definitely would have been funny if they had done that. But yeah, I mean, there's people who are mad about it, but I've got a lot of people saying, oh, LeBron wants so much attention on himself. That's what this is. I'm like, it's an ad. He's getting paid for attention. Like that's exactly. And if that's the case, mission accomplished. He certainly accomplished. He got that.
Yeah, well done.
He got that done. Check that box, I suppose.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's no one's writing me a check to advertise Hennessy. So that's good on LeBron, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's talk
All right,
about
so
the
Giannis.
actual story, and that's that
Yeah.
that Giannis, that the Knicks and the Bucks had trade conversations around Giannis Antetokounmpo back in August, didn't ultimately go anywhere. Keith, it was characterized by Shams too as paraphrasing, but an exclusive window. Like they were not. It was a direct one-to-one. Kind of reminded me of like the Lakers Mavs conversations
Sure.
where they didn't let other teams in, nobody else knew about it, that type of thing. Did the Knicks miss an opportunity here? Like, because now people know about it and everything. Like, they had a chance to deal 1-to-1 with the Bucks, but there was also a line in there that the Knicks never believed that the Bucks were actually going to trade Giannis. So a little bit of interesting back and forth there. But should the Knicks have, as the Bucks felt like the Knicks didn't really push all their chips in here to the center of the table to get Giannis, should they have?
So here's the thing: what chips do they have to push in?
That's a
They don't have any
question.
picks left. If I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, right? If I'm running the Bucks starting right now in this moment, and I'm trading Giannis, I'm probably rebuilding, right? Like it's very unlikely I'm getting, unless it's the Knicks are like, here's Cat and Bridges and Hart and like, let's go and we'll, and then it's like, okay, at least I have the foundation of especially in the East, a playoff team.
And you
That's a
already
little
had
bit of a
Miles
different
Turner at that
story.
point.
Yeah. And here's the thing though, you would have to have had to like offer that as the Knicks because they don't have any draft picks left. They traded almost everything that they could trade for Mikal Bridges. We would have been talking like what the Suns did in the wake of the KD trade, which was we're trading swap rights in the interim years, and we're horcruxing picks to try to create these, multiple swaps and everything else and all of this. And that's where it starts to break down a little bit. It's not that the Knicks and Giannis don't make sense. Surely it does, but I just don't know that they would be able to put the best package together knowing what the Bucks want, unless the Bucks were, all right, we'll take Cat back and we'll take back, give us one of the three forwards out of Anunoby, Bridges, and Hart, and we'll move forward with those guys, and throw in Deuce McBride because he makes so little, and we'll kind of figure it out from there. Then, all right, I guess if that's where the Bucks were, of all right, we're going to try to go that direction, that does make sense. But if the Bucks are, no, we want young players and draft picks, the Knicks just don't have it to put together. That's where it starts to remind me of the issues the Heat had with trying to get Damian Lillard. They just didn't have the draft picks that Portland was supposedly looking for at that time.
Yeah, and that's going to be an issue for New York. Even if, let's say, they pick up these talks, because we talk all the time about how trade talks that happen, saying during the offseason, they don't come to fruition, they'll pick up again at the trade deadline, or vice versa. At the trade deadline, they don't come to fruition, they'll pick up again in the offseason. If these talks do pick up again, the Knicks still have the same problem. Now, Mikal Bridges will be tradable for a few days ahead of the trade deadline, so maybe that alters things to a degree. But essentially, if the Bucks are going to want draft capital back for Giannis, and by the way, the Bucks do not want to trade Giannis, but if Giannis says we can't win this year, we can't win right now, I want to win championships, please trade me, which is what would need to happen. If we are going down that path, the Knicks are going to have to take some of these guys and probably turn them into draft capital, trade them someplace to a third team and get draft capital for the Bucks. That is, unless, like you said, the Bucks are getting pieces back where they say, we already have Turner, we already went all in by waving and stretching Dame. Let's get Cat, let's get Bridges, and off we go, and let's try to still win and see what we can do. I think probably the better thing to do would be to try to rebuild and try to get as much future capital and picks, all the stuff that you can get. But that's still the situation that the Knicks would be in. Now, it did seem like they made it pretty clear that Giannis wants the Knicks, but that he's also going to be evaluating how things play out, not just for the Bucks to start the year, but also around the NBA. So I do wonder if that door is cracked open a little bit. If there's a surprise team that looks better than we thought, Giannis, whose only goal is to win, does that open up opportunities elsewhere for him, depending on how the Bucks season starts as well?
Yeah, and I thought his comments when asked via Zoom, because remember, he's just now rejoined the Bucks in the last couple of days because he had COVID. But at media day, he said, what I want to do is win. If that's in Milwaukee, great. but I want to win. And that is important. And I did see some buzz on. So what happens if Giannis says, you trade me there if you can, but otherwise I'm just going. And there, of course, people are kind of equating that to AD and the Lakers.
Mhm.
The issue was AD was a pending free agent, and the Lakers had paths to be able to get him, even as a free agent. Giannis is not. Now, if we're talking about this a year from now, that could be a little bit different. But again, the Knicks don't really have cap space, and they don't really have paths to cap space either. So that gets very kind of messy there on how would they even get him there? So that's where this one would have to be kind of a trade. I think this is one where this screams Giannis to the Knicks pieces somewhere else. That third team delivers the draft picks and young players to the Bucks. That seems to be what would make the most sense here.
And if I'm that third team, I'm just saying, just give me Giannis, man. but obviously, if Giannis wants to go to the Knicks, that's a different story. Giannis making it very clear he wants to win. And I think an interesting subplot to all of this is the reporting that Giannis's family no longer lives in Milwaukee, that they are instead living in Athens.
Yeah.
That I don't know if that matters for how willing Giannis is to stay long term, because obviously if he was going to change teams, his family would leave as well. But I mean, maybe a little bit more to the idea, though, that Giannis, who's talked about playing in Europe, how long is Giannis for the NBA? I mean, we assume that he's going to play till he's 37, 38, 39, whatever in the NBA, till he's essentially done as a basketball player. But if his family is already living over in Greece, and I can't imagine he enjoys being that far away from his family all the time, I do wonder how long does Giannis stay in the NBA? Does he really go play the final, 4 or 5 years of his career over in Europe? I wouldn't think it's likely, but just something to consider.
So let's put together like a bunch of stuff there what you just mentioned. So Knicks fans over the summer, when they were first like, why not us for Giannis?
Sure.
One of the things that they'd mentioned, and then Kevin O'Connor, I think, tweeted about this today, that the only daily flights from the United States to Athens are out of Newark, which is where a lot of people fly out of New York City from, especially if you're not dealing with JFK or LaGuardia. Newark's right there, so that's at least semi-interesting. And there was a lot of people who took that reporting, because that was, I believe, the reporting initial place I saw was in a article that had posted in a magazine in Greece about his family buying a home in Athens, and they were making that their permanent residency. But it wasn't like permanent residency permanent residency supposedly right now. And that sounds like
his kids are in school there.
Yeah, and that sounds like that's been kind of picked up. And one of the things that's interesting was there was then a lot of talks of, and he said this himself, like that he wouldn't mind playing in Greece at some point. Now, a lot of guys say that, right? Every European player we've ever had in the league has mentioned at some point going back, and
Lucas talked about it.
Exactly. But a lot of people connected like, hey, Panathinaikos tried to get Jonas Valanciunas. They've all kind of, these European clubs, the money is simply, it's better now than it was. And there's a thought of, what if in like 3 or 4 years, Giannis is like, I'm done with the NBA. What if the NBA says, hey, you want to play for Panathinaikos? Panathinaikos, you want to be one of the charter members of NBA Europe? Like, do you want to do that? And that's how you kind of get them there. And that's kind of how it could all come together. Now, personally, I hope we're like 7 years away from Giannis playing in Europe, because I want him in the NBA. Ideally, I want him in Milwaukee, is where I'd love to see him go wire to wire with the Bucks. But I do think we're starting to spiral into a little bit of conspiracy theory territory here, but there is a lot of things you could start to piece together where this one starts to make a lot more sense.
Yeah, I mean, where you're reading between the lines, you're putting puzzle pieces together in order to get to that point. But it's not something to be overly concerned about. It's just kind of file it away. Just something to pay attention to here as we move forward with this situation. So all of this, Keith, means that there is now a lot more pressure on the Milwaukee Bucks for this season. It's particularly at the start here, the first quarter or so of the season was what was referenced in the ESPN article. That team has got to find a way to win games early and often, and they've got to show they're a contender. And I also think it wouldn't hurt if the Knicks stumble out of the gates, if the Knicks struggle a little bit. That also wouldn't hurt in this situation, because it does seem like Giannis, he just says, hey, I want to win wherever it is that's going to happen. Hopefully it happens in Milwaukee, but all I want to do right now is win games. I want to win a championship, and I need to be wherever the best place to do that. And an interesting little thing, Keith, little fun scheduling quirk. The fourth game of the season for the New York Knicks, it is in Milwaukee against the Bucks. So that should be fun.
That'll be storylines galore coming out of that one. Yeah, I think it's one where what you do have to be, even if we're like, Giannis, a little hard to trade now, what does become interesting is next summer he switches to effectively an expiring contract, because he will have that player option for the 27-28 season. And then that's where he can really wield the hammer on the Bucks of, hey, if you don't trade me, this is it. Like, I am playing out the year and then I'm out of here. We know NBA teams, rarely do they call the players bluff in that situation, especially the superstar, because it's just simply too dangerous. We've already seen, we're going to talk about one next. We're already seeing teams start to line up for, if not the summer of 2026, summer of 2027, somewhere in one of those two windows, there's going to be an awful lot of cap space in the league. And if talking to people around the league, like, yes, right now, today, free agency is kind of dead. It's like role players moving around more than anything. But free agency will swing back around. It always does. And one of the thoughts that's out there is when it swings back, it's going to be because glamour marquee markets have cap space. And they've maneuvered themselves in position, and there are major free agents available. So that's just something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. And Giannis would certainly qualify as a major free agent, but there are other guys, of course, to keep an eye on. But it does bleed into this next story here. Nikola Jovic, an extension with the Miami Heat. So what does that tell? We've heard Tyler Hero talk about how he believes an extension will get done. What does the Jovic extension tell us about the Heat's plans here, Keith?
Yeah, so very interesting, right? We got the news, 4 years, $62.4 million. And then the next thing becomes, all right, well, what is the structure on that? It was reported almost right away. No options in the deal or anything like that. But I at least I think it was me, was first to it, that the structure starts high at 16.2 million, then drops to 14.9. It's 1.3 million. We're not going to go crazy here, but every little bit helps. And if you scroll up just a tad, you can see there's not much on the Heat books. It's Bam Adebayo and then a couple other guys on rookie scale deals, and that's it that summer. So if Tyler Hero's on a new contract, great. Just helps a little bit to have a little bit extra spending power. Then it goes up slightly to 15.1 million. Then when we're in the fourth year, it goes back up to that 16.2, which why that's important. The structure is it's telling us sometime in the next couple of years, Miami's going to make a run. They're not making a run next year. They did not start this as low as possible to get to that 62.4. And that tells me they're pretty confident Andrew Wiggins is going to pick up his player option, which they probably should be, right? That's very likely where that heads. So they're not going to be a cap space player next summer, but that summer after, carve out a little bit of flexibility for yourself in there by, dropping him down 1.3 million. And now, just every little bit helps. And we've seen with Damian Lillard waived in stretch, with Bradley Beal buyout, then waived in stretch. Those margins are so tight now for these teams that those extra, million, 2 million, whatever it may be, can really, really help. So just kind of interesting, and no surprise with Andy Ellsberg, running Miami's front office from a cap space perspective. No surprise they're all over it and being very forward thinking with planning things out with that. And we all know when Miami has cap space, they're in the mix. They haven't landed the guys in the last couple of rounds, but they're still going to be in the mix for whoever it is.
Right. Yeah, they're definitely going to be a team that is heavily pursuing any of these top tier talents, and this will give them the ability to potentially go do that a couple of years, especially with that contract dipping when it does, it tells you they're planning ahead. It'll be interesting to see what that could potentially mean for that Tyler Hero extension too,
Sure.
in terms of how they structure that. So
If
we'll
I'm
keep
Miami, I like unless here's the thing, you have next year to do it too, and you could do it all the way through the end of next season because it'll be an expiring contract. I'm not rushing in anything unless he's willing to be like 25 million a year done, which he
right.
should not be. That's too much of a give back for a guy who's going to be kind of in his prime years. But unless he is like dominating this coming season, and it's like we have to get this done day one, I'm not going to rush into an extension because I just don't necessarily want that absolutely sitting on my books. Because the last thing you want to be is like, man, we could have got Giannis and player X and put them with Bam and Jovic and our kids and move forward, and we didn't do it. Then that gets tough. So I'd just be a little bit more cautious with this one.
Well, and when we're talking about Tyler Hero, he's not going to be available to start the season anyway. He's
Correct.
dealing with an injury, so that that could matter as well. Not expected to be long term, and we'll talk. Unfortunately, Keith, we do have more injury news to talk about. And we'll get to that. Of course. But before we get to that, let's go here. The Warriors are expected to make surprise. The Warriors are right. Expected to make
this coming
available on January 15th. They just finally got the deal done. They fought so hard to make sure it was a team option in the deal, to make sure it's as tradable as of a contract, as attractive of a trade chip as it could potentially be, just so they don't lose him for nothing. They want to be able to flip him. Spoiler alert, they're going to have conversations about Jonathan Kuminga with other teams way before January 15th. Just that's the earliest that we could see an actual trade get executed. But I think the expectation is sometime between January 15th and February 5th, which is the trade deadline, Jonathan Kuminga will find himself in another jersey.
Yeah, and this one it's just kind of important with the way all this stuff comes together. A lot of people have been asking, but if a team gets him, he loses his bird rights because if they decline that option for the next year. I think his non-bird rights would be still enough because that would put him at, just using non-bird, $27 million in first year salary. That should be enough to get it done for Jonathan Kuminga. I'm not too worried about that part of it. So I think if he does get traded, it's going to be to a team that either they 100% just want to wipe the contract off the books, and they wanted whatever other assets they got in the deal from the Warriors, would that be draft picks or Pajemski or Moody or one of the other younger guys, or they're in a position where we want Kuminga and we think 27 million is enough, or we're going to have cap space anyway, and if we have to go cap space, we'll go that way. But I think that's where it's kind of sitting with him, and that to me makes a lot of sense if I'm another team, because then, all right, I feel good enough that I can get this done, even with non-bird, even if it is there. Or we'll just pick up to 24.3, and then we'll have his full bird rights the year after that, and we'll move forward from there.
Yeah. And so teams, and the initial reporting from Shams was that the deal, and I think it was in his original tweet about the news that he was signing the deal, was this deal is designed to be ripped up next summer and a new deal negotiated. I believe that's Kuminga's camp putting out there like, hey, teams, if you're going to trade for him, be ready to give him a new deal next summer. Yep. But he did surrender that control. If a team wanted, it would make him upset maybe. But if a team wanted to, they could pick up that team option for $24.3 million on the next year of that deal. So not a surprise that they're going to make him available. They will look for pieces that they think will fit better in Golden State, and look, they could be off and running, making a real push there. I think, Keith, the initial team to because there's just been so much buzz about them being interested, it is the Sacramento Kings to keep an eye on. But there's also been talk about, well, the Warriors really covet Trey Murphy. Could the Pelicans get it involved? There's other players that they'll be interested in. Golden State
Bulls,
now
I think were mentioned, right?
The Bulls as well, yes, with as potentially a running mate for Josh Giddey, putting him there. You've got some pieces, I would assume. You've got Kobe White. You've got some interesting players there that they could look at. But the bottom line, the Warriors are now essentially the Warriors have $22.5 million to go shopping with on the trade market from now through February 5th. and sometime between the 15th and the 5th, they're expected to execute something.
Yeah, and two last thoughts. That's one heck of a lot better than $8 million in expiring salary with a no trade clause. Like, that's definitely better. And then the other thing, a couple of people said, why is it January 15th? Why is it not 3 months from when he signed? Because he got more than a 20% raise using his bird rights. That puts it at January 15th. That's just the way the rules work. To basically say, hey, if you want to trade a guy who you're re-signing, you do it as a sign-in trade. Otherwise, we're going to make you wait a little bit, just an extra month later. But that's rarely ever been like a huge stumbling block. I know the past couple years, we've seen an increase in trade activity earlier in the trade window, which unofficially opens on December 15th. But most trades are going down in that period from mid-January to the trade deadline in early February.
If you happen to see, Jonathan Kuminga, if he is a little gimpy or something at the beginning of January, and next thing you know, we're going to keep him out for an extra week or something, make sure he heals up. Like, maybe that'll let you know, give you a little heads up into something that could be brewing there.
Or he all of a sudden is getting 35 minutes a night in a prime showcase role. Scoring. Yeah, that could be
all
like,
right, our new game plan.
Yeah, that's interesting. Draymond Green got a little rest
tonight. Let's go.
Yeah, Draymond and Jimmy Butler are getting a rest night here, and like Kuminga gets 25 shots tonight. Yeah, not the worst idea in the world.
All right. Before we get to our bad news, which is an injury, let's get to our sponsor, and that is Sleeper. They really do a fantastic job. Sleeper does. We've got our great promo code, of course, Cap Space. You can get a $100 deposit match up to $100 when you use that promo code. And right now they've got a lot of stuff going on with daily fantasy for football. So if you think you know football, you can turn your football knowledge into real money with a Sleeper app, the ultimate fantasy sports app that can turn game day into payday. Download the Sleeper app, use the link in the description below. Pick more or less on your favorite players with more stats than any other daily fantasy app. Choose 2 or more of your favorite players from pregame or live. Pick their predicted stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money if you win. Use promo code CAPSPACE. You'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Once again, that promo code is CAPSPACE. And right now they do have a great deal, a free $20 entry. No deposit needed. So make sure you guys check that out over on Sleeper. All right, Keith. I've been dreading it. Ja Morant, week to week with a sprained ankle. I talked about this a little bit yesterday over on Basketball Bulletin, but at this stage, I mean, you said 2 weeks away from the regular season starting. Week to week could mean the start of the regular season is in peril here for Ja Morant. I hope he's back in time. I hope that's not an issue for him. But holy moly, what is going on in Memphis, man? I mean, we already saw a couple seasons ago their season was erased with injuries. Now we've got Jaren Jackson, Zach Edey, Brandon Clark. Now Ja Morant dealing with something. Get healthy, Grizzlies. This is just one of a number of injuries we've seen over the course of the offseason. Fred VanVleet out for the season already. We've got Tyler Hero. We've got a number of guys that are banged up right now. And now we add Ja Morant to the list, to a Memphis side that just does not need this at all right now.
Yeah, it's, again, hopeful when they say week to week. That means, all right, not super serious. We feel okay about it. There was I was listening to the Dunked On podcast, the Grizzlies season preview that Nate Duncan did with Chris Harrington, who covers the Grizzlies. And Chris said there was a rush to basically say Jaren Jackson Jr. is out for the start of the season. And he's like, the Grizzlies have never said that. They've said that's around when he could be back. And then he explained that they saw Jackson going through a pretty rigorous workout the other day. So that's maybe hopefully good news, right? That Jaren Jackson Jr. will be back. But yeah, you just don't need this. This is, I mean, I don't know what curse got put on them when they left Vancouver, but it took a little bit to kick in there, but it certainly has now. And it is
curse of big country.
Brutal. Yeah, right. But this is just brutal stuff. I mean, these guys are, key players for the Grizzlies. And I said it a lot. I'm going to continue to say it. You can't lose ground in the Western Conference. You get behind early. This could be one where let's say we get to like Christmas-ish, and the Grizzlies are like, man, like we're out of it. Do they start to look to make moves? I'm not saying you trade Morant or Jackson, but it's like, all right, let's just kind of let this thing fall out a little bit, and we'll figure it out. Because I believe, let me make sure I'm not going to say something crazy here. They have their own pick, and then they very likely have a Phoenix pick coming as well. So I think you're in a spot where, yeah, if it makes sense to pivot towards ping pong balls, they could be one of the teams that does it just because of how deep the West is. Now, if Morant's back, start of the season, Jackson's back pretty early, they should have enough depth to stay competitive and stay in the race. But yeah, it's certainly tough.
Let me ask you this. John Morant has 3 years remaining on his contract. When that contract expires, is he in a Grizzlies jersey?
I'm going to say no. It's going to take a couple really big seasons for him and the team, and seasons where, he plays 65 plus games and is award eligible, and like him and Jackson and this retooled roster, which I don't think they're finished with. I think they're still working through the pieces around them, but they really push these guys into, real playoff runs. So like win a couple rounds, competitive with the best teams in the league. Otherwise, yeah, at some point you have to say, hey, we gave it a good run. I mean, at that point you're talking, we would have been 7, 8, 9 years into the run. Yeah. At that point, you got to start thinking about, all right, what's next? What are we pivoting to now?
Where do we go? Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've been thinking looking at this team. Ja at one point was this rising young star in the NBA and super exciting. Now he's kind of in that category with Zion and Ben Simmons and these guys that just have so much talent, but just never quite got to where the NBA needed them to get there. And he's going into his age 26 season here, Ja is. Hopefully he bounces back in a big way. And he's a huge talking point from here on out, and everybody is praising it. I hope that's the way this goes, but it just hasn't gotten quite to that level. And some of it's been injuries and suspensions and all the other stuff beyond just what he does on the floor, but it just hasn't quite gotten to that level. And at some point, I think you're right. I think it's probably not this year, but within the next couple of years, the Grizzlies kind of take a look around and say, well, what are we doing here? What can we do for the future? Is it time to kind of turn the page? And that just feels like the direction that we're heading right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, let's bounce back. Let's go nuts. Let's, be big time, season and play great and be back in that all NBA level and all those things. And if we are, that changes things. But yeah, these are a big couple seasons for Memphis.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Dyson Daniels, the Hawks, not close on getting an extension done. Where are we at right now with that? I can't recall off the top of my head what he's looking for and what they're offering, like what the report is.
Yeah, I don't think we've had real clear, laid out, he wants 30 and they're offering 17 or anything like that. But my guess is he's probably somewhere in the 25-ish range.
And they're probably in that giddy territory.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you start looking at their overall cap sheet, Trae Young's coming up due for a new deal. They obviously have Jalen Johnson on as long as he can stay healthy, a great contract. Gil Alexander-Walker's on a good deal. So this one's a little questionable. I would do what we can. I think they're going to keep Trae Young. You found the right backcourt guy to put with him and Dyson Daniels. He's the right kind of, he can do enough with the ball in his hands that Trae can get those moments where he can play off ball or can just give possessions to someone else. And Daniels can defend either guard position, allows you to put Young on the weakest perimeter player on the floor, and you just go forward. And then, Johnson and Risachet and Okongwu and now Porzingis and Alexander Walker, you've built a really good team, but Dyson Daniels is a big part of it. You don't need to get crazy. He certainly should be getting more than 25-ish million in a season, but I have no problem if that's where we land for Dyson Daniels. That feels about right to me with where we're going. And that's, I think would be a pretty good contract. Got to be careful. We do not want another, let's run it into restricted free agency and run it, into that next summer. Because the other thing is next summer, there will be teams with cap space that may be looking and saying, know what we need? Dyson Daniels. And then we can really go to the next level.
For sure.
And that's where you run into trouble. Just in case anybody's wondering, these rookie scale extension guys and players with more than 1 year left that is like guaranteed. It's not an option year. It's the 20th. That's the deadline to sign those extensions. So we're like 2 weeks out on that. So clock is ticking a little bit here. Last 2 years really, we had a ton of these get done in the last couple of days. So maybe that's where we're headed, but it doesn't seem close right now for Daniels and the Hawks.
What's his upside as a player? Like, could he be a third best guy on a really good championship level team?
Defensively, sure. I mean, he could be your very best guy. Offensively, probably fourth or fifth, like, is where you really want to be. And so if I'm Atlanta, it's Trey, Jalen Johnson, and Research develops into that. Then you're maybe Porzingis sticks around for a couple more seasons, and Daniels is kind of in that level. But yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a lot of it's going to depend. Is he ever going to shoot? Like, if he's going to shoot it well, then sure, then he could definitely develop into more. But he's kind of, every once in a while we see these guys who don't necessarily shoot it great, but they kind of figure out a lot of other ways, and he's definitely figured those things out.
I just think these guys, like role player sounds too derogatory or something for a player of this caliber, but these super high level guys, but that aren't quite all-star level guys. But these are the guys, when we look at, the Josh Giddeys, the Jonathan Kumingas, we're going to be talking about Austin Reeves plenty over the course of the year. Zach LaVine, who, he's obviously, we can talk about offensively on a different level, but these kinds of guys are really interesting to watch. Brandon Ingram, we saw with the Pelicans, all these guys that are kind of that all-star adjacent, just below all-star level play. These guys, how these contracts play out is going to be very, very interesting, and how teams handle these and we've talked about it before, but the Dyson Daniels, I feel like is in this group too, of guys where their numbers actually end up is going to be really fascinating and really important for the ultimate construction of their rosters. Yeah,
without a doubt. And it's, offense is always going to get paid more than defense. So that's where you do see like Ingram and, like you mentioned, LaVine, those guys will always get a little bit more. But yeah, it is tough. But I think if you're Atlanta, so much of this depends too on like, where are we going with Trey? And I think you finally found a backcourt mix that works. I just keep running with it.
Yep. And that great nickname, the Great Barrier Thief. Let's go.
I also can't wait to watch him and Alexander Walker when Quinn Snyder's like, just go. Mr. Burns, unleash the hounds, right? Like, go get at him. Like, people like Simpsons references when we make them. I've noticed that in your comments. Yeah, exactly. Release the hounds. Let's go.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
Yeah. See my vest. Made out of real gorilla chest. That's a really good episode.
That was my daughter was watching what was it? Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
And she was singing that song, and I changed it to See My Vest. And she's like, what? This was years ago. But for a little while, she thought that was really what it was, See My Vest.
Kill two for matching clogs.
The Knicks, they need to make a trade, and not necessarily for Giannis. I'm sure they would like to make a trade for Giannis, but if they want to keep both Malcolm Brogdon and Landry Shamet, Pacome Dadier, the name that keeps popping up, is he on the way out before the Knicks have to make a difficult cut here between Brogdon and Shamet?
Yeah, that's the easiest path forward to creating that extra room that they need. The Knicks are in a position where they could keep one guy of all the guys that they have on these veteran deals in camp. It probably would be Brogdon or Shamet. I'm not sold. It would definitely be Brogdon. They do like Landry Shamet quite a bit, but they really sounds like they want to keep both of them. They've even talked about maybe Garrison Matthews, if we could find a way to a third guy too. Now you're talking that's more than just Pacome Dadier. Now you're talking you got to move somebody else as well. But that's where, yeah, there's a lot of buzz about, well, it could be Tyler Kolek. It certainly could be. What you would like to do if it's Dadier, clearly you want to do it where it gives you enough time before the season to not have to waive a guy. And now you're doing it. So you're talking again, next couple weeks, you get this done. And then that gives whatever team acquires Pacome Dadier, they make the decision on that third-year rookie scale option, $2.9 million. He's only 20, so I think that definitely gets picked up, and the team just moves forward with that. But it's that seems like the way you got to go if you're really all right. We're gonna try to get this where we want to get to. If you're the Knicks, it's probably gonna have to be Dadier, and that's. I don't like trading young player for old. Dadier has not popped enough. And if you're the Knicks trying to win a title, then I'm kind of okay with it.
I think there's just we see teams a little bit more willing to move off of even players on rookie scale contracts if they don't feel like they're going to help move them forward. There's just there's less patience right now. And it's not necessarily less patience on the part of teams as they're developing players. It's less patience in terms of the financials. It's the cap management and all of that. And we're seeing that around the NBA. So wouldn't shock me if that's ultimately the way they go here, but we'll see if we have just a little bit less exciting Knicks trade than Giannis Antetokounmpo. By the way, the story's getting aggregated right now that it's popping up that the Miami Heat were very willing to make an offer for Giannis Antetokounmpo if he requested a trade that would not include Bam Adebayo.
Okay, sure.
Well, of course, right? Of course. The sky is blue, water is wet.
Yes. Especially in Miami.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Especially in Miami. Let's go here. Rookie
very
scale
quickly. Yeah, just rookie scale team options got to be picked up by October 31st. Teams have like 10 days into the season. Most of these are no-brainers. These two definitely were. Ryan Dunn, Modest Buzelis, Suns and Bulls. Pick them up. Two players they're very high on. Buzelis obviously established himself as ideally, him, Josh Giddey, Kobe White, that's your future core-ish, you hope, for the Bulls. And then Ryan Dunn, good chance he's going to start for the Suns this year as their primary defensive forward. So, no-brainers there, but just wanted to mention them just because these moves did happen.
Okay. Nikola Topic is out 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah. I didn't put why because I didn't know what YouTube's rules were. I didn't want to
I don't know what the rules are. We don't hear this very often. For a testicular procedure, Nikola Topic is out. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the story. Whatever it is, I hope you feel better, man. Whatever.
Yeah, the only thing I do worry about is because we've seen this, but it's usually with older players. Every once in a while, it's like, we found like a testicular cancer, and then it's like we had to take care of it. I mean, if that's what it was, let's hope this took care of it. He's going to be okay. Sure. I mean, this is a super young guy. If it's something else, just good luck, my friend. Like, rest up and chill, and we'll see him 4 to 6 weeks. It is a bummer because he played pretty good in that one preseason game he played in. He looked pretty solid. He was running the offense. Thunder have been their first couple games that played no one from the regular rotation. It's all been like lower end rotation guys. Case and Wallace got into the game the other day, but Topic looked really good. So let's get healthy and get back out there and do your thing. But all the best to him on
of course,
sensitive area there. Let's be careful.
Yep, absolutely. All right, everybody, we made it. We appreciate all of you for having the balls to stay this long on the show. And
we got to go find a batch of Greyhound puppies.
I couldn't resist. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel or follow us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Till next time, see ya and stay safe.